And here at home, Eyewitness News takes a closer look at one of Kern County's biggest businesses and what would happen if the oil industry suddenly collapsed.
Eyewitness News reporter Will Silverstein spoke with a local economist and oil businessman as he stands at the bluffs of Panorama Park. Will.
Michael, a man-made disaster like the one in Maryland is unlikely to happen here in Kern County to disrupt the oil industry, but oil industry experts say that if anything's going to stop the oil industry here, it's legislation in Sacramento. But what would happen if the oil industry came to a screeching halt?
There would be an extreme shortage, and then as a result, the price of the product that's being produced would skyrocket.
Luckily, we are not at that point yet, and a natural disaster is unlikely. While California can always count on a few earthquakes, the closest the fields in Kern County got to a disaster was the potential of flooding during last year's unprecedented river levels after a particularly wet year. But what local oil businessman Chad Hathaway says will damage Kern County's oil industry is the continuance of Senate Bill 1137. The legislation restricts new oil wells from being utilized within 3,200 feet of residential communities. It has some popular supporters, including Governor Gavin Newsom and former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a controversial Senate bill that Chad Hathaway says is just a bunch of grandstanding.
On paper, it sounds really good, but factually, it's wrong. No public agency has said that it's unhealthy to live that close to an oil well. Number two, it's illegal. One, you can't take somebody's property without compensating for it. It puts the state on the line for billions, if not trillions of dollars of liability when it comes to taking. We'll be instituting through this really poorly thought out bill.
As for Dr. Soitomir from Stanislaus State, he says Kern County having multiple strong industries like agriculture and warehousing keep the economy strong if one industry is hurting.
It's very important for that reason to have a diversified economy.
While a natural disaster is unlikely, Soitomir says all three industries can contribute to a long-term issue in the valley, air pollution, pointing to the fossil fuels from oil, the use of the fuels by semi-trucks at local warehouses, and the chemicals used in farming.
What is relevant right now in our valley is air pollution, road safety, road conditions, impact on air pollution. So we need to think about the externalities that these industries are creating.
We'll talk a little more with Chad Hathaway in the 6 o'clock hour about just those specific impacts on the oil industry here in Kern County. But for now, reporting from the Bluffs, Will Silverstein, Eyewitness News.